Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to the Science Lab. I'm so excited to be in here today. I know we haven't done too many experiments in the past year, but now's our chance. We're going to get into this Science Lab more often, and I'm going to start by teaching you about something that I really love, which is forces. Forces are one of my favorite topics. And when you get older, you go to college, the forces are talked about in classes called physics. Sounds really hard, but we're going to investigate all about it today, and you're going to know things about physics when you're all done. You're going to be very excited to know more about how forces work. So, what are forces? What do you think forces means? Force. Anybody ever heard that before? Right. Sort of like when you push something or maybe we could even pull something. That would be force too, because you'd have to really pull tight with a lot of force. So I kind of know how to use the word force. But maybe we're going to learn a little bit more about exactly what force is today. What about motion? Motion. Motion happens all the time too. Forces happen all the time, and motion happens all the time. We're moving right now, right? I'm using my hands while I talk to you. I'm walking around the room. I'm pointing to things. So my body is in motion. What does motion mean? Yes, exactly. It means just moving, the way something moves. Very, very good. So you guys already know a little bit about this. All right, so that's going to help you today. All right. A lot of times, forces and motion are used in sports, right? We think about people moving. We think about people pushing balls or throwing balls or maybe even pulling something in some sports, running, kicking. So today we're going to talk about one particular sport. For now, we could think about how forces and motion are in other sports later. But for now, I'm going to ask you about a sport that you might watch on TV. Or maybe your dad or your mom go and play this sport with their friends. Or you might have played this sport with your mom or dad. And you might have even played a miniature version of this sport. Let's see if you know. I'm going to show you now a few things that you need to play this sport and see if you can tell me what the sport is. Okay, I have something called a club. I have a something kind of ball, blank ball. I can't say the word because I'd give away the sport. I have a hole, and I have a flag inside of a hole on a lot of grass. Who knows what sport it is? Yes, it looks like everybody's so excited. What sport is this? Golf. Very good, everyone. Awesome. Okay, how do you play golf? Who can tell me? Yes, you use the club to hit the ball into the hole. Very good. Using a club to hit the ball. You know, this reminds me of another sport I'm thinking about, actually. You use something to hit the ball, but you don't hit a ball into a hole. You just kind of hit it. And in this sport, a lot of times you hit it really hard and you don't really worry about where it's going too much. You want to hit it out, out, out. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, I see a lot of hands. Yes, that's right. Baseball, right? In baseball, the players worry about where the ball's going, but they try to hit it as hard as they can so they can get it out into the outfield and even into the stands for a home run. How is golf different from that? Who can tell me? Yes, exactly. So in golf, even though in the beginning players do hit the ball pretty hard, toward the end, when they're trying to get that ball into the hole, they are very worried about how hard they hit the ball because they don't want the ball to go past the hole. This is all correct. You guys are really good at telling me all the details of golf. This is great. Yes, they're making sure that the ball goes into the hole and they have to be careful about it. So they can't just hit the ball any way they want. Okay, let's think about this slide for a second. I have a picture of Goofy here and it has a blank thought bubble. So we're going to fill in the thought bubble. But first, I want you to look at him. Imagine yourself in his shoes. You're standing there. You have that golf club in your hand. The golf ball's super close to the hole, and you have to get that ball into the hole to win the game. Okay, what do you think you're thinking? What do you think Goofy is thinking right now? We have to give him some thoughts. Let's brainstorm, okay? So let's think about, you're hitting the ball, you're trying to get it in the hole. What are you thinking about? Yes. Very good. That's right. Yeah. You're thinking about if you should hit it straight or maybe not. What does that mean? So Rafaela said you're thinking if you should hit it straight. Straight. I could hit it left. I could hit it right. I could hit it backward. I could hit it forward. I could hit it diagonally. What are all those words telling me about the way I hit something? Not how hard I hit it, which good direction I hit it in. Very, very good. So I'm going to write that in the thought bubble. Goofy's thinking about which direction he should hit this ball in. What else is he thinking about? Yes, Jack, right. How hard he should hit the ball. How hard he should hit the ball. So how much what he should use. I'm going to show the children my muscles. Strength, right. How hard he should hit it, how much strength he should use. And I'm going to say the amount of force he should use. Remember that word we said in the beginning? Force. Okay, so I'm going to write that here and I'm going to underline it because that's going to be an important word for this investigation. Force and direction. Those are two words now that you've showed me you've known, but we're going to investigate more about those today. Okay. All right, and see, now Josiani said he should hit it softer because he's so close to the hole. That's very good. That's a good thought. That's going to help him a lot. And that has a lot to do about his strength, right? He doesn't want to hit it too strong because it will go past the hole. Very good, Josiani. I love that. All right, he's lining up the ball with the hole. That's also a very good reason, a very good, thought that Goofy might be thinking, right? He's trying to line it up, and he almost draws like an imaginary arrow with his eyes from the ball to the hole, and he tries to follow that direction, big word, direction, in his, when he hits the ball. Now, what else is he thinking about? So he's saying, I should hit the ball in this direction and with this much strength and this much force because I want the ball to, yes, get in the hole. But what does the ball have to do to get into the hole? Yes, very good. Very, very good, Brianna. The ball has to move in order for it to get in the hole. So what does movement? What's a big word for movement? We actually talked about it right in the beginning. That's right, motion. Very good. Somebody remembered. Awesome. So he's trying to figure out how the ball will move and the motion of the ball. So if he puts a certain force on the ball in the correct direction, the ball will move the way he wants it to, and the ball might go in the hole. So I'm going to put this little definition up here, and we're going to add that to the chart. We're going to put all of our vocabulary words in this chart on the side like I have them, but I'm going to add a special definition for force. The force, remember, is a push or a pull of something, okay? Now you were given, okay, so here's what your procedure sheet looks like. You have your materials listed on the left. You have a cup, a ball, a piece of felt. That's going to be what you need for your investigation. And then you're going to have your clipboard, which you have now, with your recording sheet on it. The recording sheet is right on the back of this sheet. So you just have to flip through the pages if you need to know your procedure, or you have to go back to your recording sheet. And I'll show you how to use the recording sheet in a minute. Don't forget your pencil as well. All right, so this is your recording sheet. You have a table with your amount of force on the left side and your directions on the right side. So amount of force means strong or weak. And is it a push or is it a pull? So I want to know, was it a strong push that you had to use to get the ball in the hole? Was it a weak push? You're probably not going to use a pull here because you don't use pulls in golf. You only push the ball. The direction tells me which way you pushed the ball. Did you push it right? Did you push it left? Did you push it at a diagonal to the right? Did you push it at a diagonal to the left? Maybe you just pushed it straight and toward the hole. I'm going to show you examples of this in a minute. You have 4 turns here. The challenge is to get the ball in with 3 turns. But if you need the 4th turn, it's okay. If you don't get it in 4 turns, it's also okay. We'll talk about that later. But for right now, this is what your recording sheet's going to look like. And I'm going to show you exactly how to use it as you're doing your investigation. Okay, so first, you put down your felt. Okay, next, you take the cup with the hole cut out of the bottom, and you're going to place tape on both sides to tape it down to your felt. Okay, then you're going to put your ball right at the edge of the felt, on the opposite edge of the felt, sort of lined up with the hole of the cup. So you're going to draw that imaginary arrow to the cup to make sure that your ball is sort of lined up, right? You want to make sure it gets in the hole, so that would be the best place to put the ball. All right, now you're going to have your clipboard with your table, and it's going to look just like this. I want you to make sure that that's how it looks. And don't forget to take your pencil with you, okay? We have all our materials on our desk, but I just want to make sure you guys are reminded to bring everything with you beforehand so we don't have to go back to the classroom to get our things. Okay, so player 1 will go first, okay? And I've already put a little star by the person who's going first. That was just random. Remember, I just picked that out, okay? Now, player 1's going to go first. Player 2 is going to have their clipboard with them, with the pencil. So while player 1 goes, player 2 is going to record for player 1. Okay, and player 1's going to help them and tell them what to write. So player 1 goes first. They roll their ball, remember, gently. We don't want to roll it past the felt because then the ball will be lost, right? The felt helps the ball stay in place. So try your best to keep it on the felt. And the room has carpet, so it won't go too far, but just try your best to keep it on the felt because that's going to help you win within your 3 turns. Okay, so turn 1 comes for the first player. She rolls the ball to here. Player 2 goes to the clipboard and observes how much force and what direction player 1 hit their ball in. And player 1, you're going to help player 2 tell them what you did. So the player 2 is going to say, how much force did you use for that? Looked like you hit it pretty hard. You pushed it pretty hard. So player 1's going to say, yeah, I did. So we're going to say a strong push. Okay, so is it strong or weak? It was strong. And did I push or pull? I pushed, right? Do you think you're going to pull for this experiment? You're right. Yeah, it's always going to be a push because you have to push it toward the hole. All right, next, direction. Player 1 is going to say, well, I hit it this way. Well, which way did she hit it? She hit it straight, and she went to the left just a little by accident. So we're going to put that here. Straight toward the hole and to the left. Maybe you could just say straight and to the left, or diagonally toward the left. However you want to word it is okay, as long as you describe it. Okay. Now player one's going to go again to try to get it closer. She hits. Let's say she hits it to here. Well, she was closer to the hole now, so she decided that her push was going to be a little bit weaker. It's not a strong push, it's a weak push. On purpose, because she wanted it to get to the hole. So player two will write that for her. Then they're going to decide what direction it went in. Well, she went too much to the right and on a diagonal. Went forward a little. So Mrs. Auriemma just put here that everything that she observed. Even if it didn't make sense, or even if it's not a great sentence, it's all my observations. I saw that she went to the right. It was too much. She should have been straighter. And she went on a diagonal, and she also went forward a little. So I decided to write all of that. You write as much as you can for observations because you want as much information as you can, just like a detective. Excuse me. Now, turn 3. Remember, it's the same person going. It's just the third time they're going to try to get the ball in the hole. She goes again, and she gets it. Okay, the drawing looks like she didn't get it, but she did get it. And she helps player 2 write down for her that she had a medium push. It was between strong and weak. It wasn't too strong, it wasn't too weak, it was medium. And where did it go? It went to the left on a diagonal, right toward the hole. It went right into the hole. Very good, right? So this only took her 3 tries, so she met the challenge. If it took her 4 tries, it would be okay. If it takes 5, it gets to be a little bit too much, boys and girls. So if it takes more than 4, you're going to stop. And then we're going to go back and try again for you. You just let me know that you didn't finish. And we will go back and try again as a team, you and I. All right. Remember, though, while you're doing this, I'm going to be walking around. I want to make sure that, you can use all the words that we talked about. Maybe you can even use the word force, right? You can use the word strength. You can use the word direction. And we're going to be respectful to each other and make sure we're helping each other along the way. Player 2 is going to have to help player 1 when player 1 is pushing and player 2 is writing. And vice versa. When player 2 is pushing, player 1 has to write for player 2. So you really have to work together and use what you learned about scientific discourse, how we talk in science, right? We talk about things about I observed might be something we say. It looked like you did whatever you might have done. Okay, those are things that I want to hear. I also want to make sure that you are thinking about how you are pushing so that you can help your partner write the correct things. Remember, all of these will be pushes because we are pushing the ball into the hole. Okay, you may go ahead and start. I will be walking around to make sure that you are participating, speaking respectfully, and taking your turns, and acting like scientists, right? Being very serious about your investigation while you're having a little bit of fun, and writing down and observing as you go. Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so here are your reflection questions. You're all done with your investigation. You've done a very good job. I noticed that you're all using proper scientific words like I observed, or I saw, or it looked like. I love all that. I thought it was a great job that you've done. And everybody was so focused. You were all paying attention to what was going on, and each of you were helping your partners. Awesome. Now, it says here on your reflection page, all of the questions that I'd like you to think about now that you're done with your investigation. Let's look at the first one. Did you push the ball with the same amount of strength every time? Who can answer that for me? No, that's right. You didn't push the ball with the same amount of strength every time. Now, the second question says, why did you have to change the amount of strength you used? Who can tell me something that happened from the investigation that explains how you had to change your strength on different turns? Yes, exactly. Very good. I saw a lot of you were pushing a little bit stronger with stronger force when you were further away from the cup. But when you got closer to the cup, you were using this gentle force, a little bit of a weaker force, so that you didn't go too far and past the cup. You went right toward the cup. That was awesome. I loved how a lot of you were not using too much force and really making sure that you got into that cup. How about direction? Did you use the same direction every time, boys and girls? No, that's right. How did you figure out which direction you needed to push the ball in? Right, that's right. Yes, you needed to push the ball closer to the hole and toward the hole. So whichever direction you were in, let's say you were on the left a little too much, you would have to push the ball to the right a little more. If you were on the right a little too much, you'd have to push the ball to the left a little bit more. You kept trying to adjust your direction or change your direction based on where you wanted the ball to move or the motion you wanted to see happen to the ball. So your force was affecting how your ball was moving, right? How did the force you use affect the motion of the ball, guys? Let's put that all together now. How did the force you used, all your strengths, different strengths that you used, and all the different directions used, how did that affect the motion? Ooh, that was a good one. Yes, Jack. If you push the ball to the right with a force that goes to the right, the ball moves to the right. If you push the ball toward the left, if your force goes toward the left, the ball goes to the left, right? It moves. The motion happens in the left direction. How about strength? We talked about direction now. How about strength? How did that affect it? Very good. Yes. So if you're stronger and you use more force, stronger amount of force, greater amount of force and stronger, the ball will go further. And if you use a weaker force, the ball doesn't go as far. But sometimes we do need to use a weaker force, right? Because we want the ball to go a certain way and we have to use the right amount of force to get it where we want it to go. So it sounds like force and motion go together, right? If we use a certain amount of force and the right amount of force, the motion will be the right motion. If we do something wrong or we go the wrong way, the motion will go the wrong way. So force and motion are connected. They happen together. If you do, force causes motion. Very good. You guys really put this all together very well. So I want you to look at these 4 words and just quickly jot down what you think each word means. And you can do this with your partner. As you're doing that, I'm going to pass out your exit tickets. So this is exit ticket number 1 for a little bit lower level learners. I wouldn't present this obviously to the class, but I just wanted to present this for my lesson to show the differentiation component. So for this exit ticket, I've created a multiple choice question on push and on pull. And then the third question is the question that connects the investigation to the force lesson and how I would assess here how the student connected the content to the investigation. So how force helped them in this investigation. It's a little bit lower level, not as deep, but for now I think that would be okay because I would try to develop that in the future. This is the level 2 or level 3 exit ticket that I've created. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a level 3. For now, this is the highest level I had. One has draw a picture of a push and draw a picture of a pull. So it's not related to the investigation, but more generally speaking, can they figure out a push and a pull in real life? The second part is more open-ended than the last exit ticket. I want them to tell me what they feel force means and how did they use force in their investigation. So I might leave a little more room here to give them a little bit more room to explain. Just wanted to see the connection again between the investigation and what they've learned about force in terms of strength, amount of force, strong, weak, and push. Make sure they say push because that's what they use. They didn't use a pull. And then I would also see that they figured out direction-wise how that affects motion and how they use that in their investigation. So here is the rubric I've included for how I will grade the entire day, basically, the lab participation, the class participation, the reflection questions, and then their knowledge on force in terms of what they've learned for that day. And I think that this is mostly for me at this point. I think day 2 will show that I'm assessing them more. But at this point, I feel like I'd want to see how the investigation went, and the exit ticket would totally be able to show me what they know, as well as the reflection questions. And the lab participation is just a given. You know, I need to assess that for sure. And that I'll do by walking around as I've indicated on my lesson. Although I don't have this on my lesson plan, I did include a day 2 of the force lesson. I thought about how I would continue this lesson. So this is actually a digital or a virtual lesson. It's very independent overall. I thought I could let some kids work independently on this and then maybe work with a small group in the back of the room. Or I could have 3 groups work and then just circle. Not 100% sure how I would do that yet, but I developed this for the second day. I have that students will follow the directions on the digital notebook and complete the activities digitally. They will press turn in once they're finished. So this would be a Google slide, even though right now it's on PowerPoint. And at the end, the final component and the product will be a push and pull force class book. So basically the book will be in the classroom library. Hopefully I could hang it in the hallway. And what I'll do is I'll have each student draw pictures of pushes and pulls and put it together in a book. You'll see that moving forward here. So this is the first page of the digital notebook, the science notebook. It's I've included a video on forces, just the push and pull aspect as we've went over in class. And I felt that it was very informative. It gave a lot of extra examples on force. It showed kids doing lots of fun things with force. So it just gives them more knowledge, more experience, in addition to what they had done the day before with their investigation. And I felt that that was important to see forces used in different ways. And then I would also plan to include force in my daily conversations with them. Maybe I see something happening and I just say, oh, wow, look, that was a push. That was a really strong push. That was, you know, the force caused the book to be pushed in this direction, etc. Something like that. Okay, so here they're going to watch the video. They're going to match the vocabulary words. They'll be able to drag each of these boxes to the correct meaning of the word. This is also sort of an assessment from the day before as well, because we've gone over these words a few times in the lesson that I provided for you. This is the second slide in the digital notebook. This would just be a extra piece of the assessment where they would decide if these real life situations were pushes or pull type forces. And then they would have a few multiple choice true false questions on the right. This again is just the second day, so I didn't think an extensive test or anything like that was appropriate. I thought that this would just help me get a good feel for their understanding of force, and then it could sort of inform how I would move forward in possibly an additional lesson, or even just sitting with one or two students maybe that didn't get it, if that was the case. This is my final slide. This is the third page of what the students would receive as their digital notebook assessment. So they'd kind of go through this as a sort of a digital lesson, as I stated previously. And it says we are going to create a book about forces, a class book about forces. And we're going to show everybody what we've learned by drawing a picture of a push or a pull. We will also use an arrow to label the direction of the force and the motion. Look on the next page for directions and examples. So I provided examples. I want students numbers 1 through 10, according to their alphabetical order, which they all know their numbers. Students 1 through 10 to draw me an example of push and give me an arrow, just like I gave them here in this example. And then students 11 through 21 would draw a pull, and they would use an arrow to indicate the direction of the motion and the force. So I would use this as like a final product, but really the assessment prior, the multiple choice and the matching and the exit ticket from the day before would be more of my formal assessments, where I could figure out, who kind of got it and who didn't really understand it or missed the mark, and who I need to sit with. But I'd also like to explore other ways to investigate force and learn about force for them. This wouldn't be the end of the unit. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.